Your Holiness, I would like to call on the Mayor of the City of Vaughan, who has a question for you. Mayor Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor Cousins. Your Holiness, welcome again to the City of Vaughan. It's always a great honor for us to have you in our presence.
Thank you so
much.
much.
And I know that your members here are always so very pleased. So thank you for coming again. My question is one that is a bit of a dilemma. We in Canada sometimes see things that we do not think are right happening in the world. One of them is child labor. And yet when we comment, unfortunately, sometimes there is a backlash. And I speak of a recent event in the rug factories that because of the concerns being expressed about child labor, these reputable companies decided that they would no longer hire the children. And unfortunately, the backlash is these children are then forced out onto the street where they take up more unhealthy professions. What is your suggestion on how we can comment, or should we comment, when we see things that perhaps don't meet our standards, but perhaps are appropriate in those countries?
Thank you so much for a very wise observation, I must say, because generally the people who ask this question do not touch upon the areas, sensitive areas of this question on which you have touched. You see, the concept of child labor has gone through an evolutionary processes of changes during the history. There was a time in England, for instance, when the child labor was imposed upon children. They were abducted for this purpose. They were, unfortunately, subjected to the cruelest treatment at the hand of their so-called employers. Now that has left a mark on the British memory. With reference to the British memory, I invite your attention that you also were a part of Europe in those days. And this have created an abhorrence against child labor. But the situations change in different countries. And there sometimes, not to permit child labor would be a cruelty against the very children whom you want to save. For instance, in Pakistan, I know, in Karachi, there is no coercion on the part of the so-called mafias who employ child laborers at all. It is the families who are driven to this unfortunate situation. They suffer from hunger if there is only one earning member. They cannot feed all the mouths in the home. So the children do help them and themselves by going to factories, by going to small employments here and there. And it is they who are made unhappier by Europe's or Western insistence that unless you remove child labor altogether, we will not import your products, the products of at least those industries which employ child labor. That I don't believe is fair. There are other things which should have been attended to. In Pakistan, for instance, that I can vouch for, there is a large number of innocent children who have been abducted by Pathan groups from the Afghan or nondescript territories in between, which have a trade of abducting a child and chaining him and keeping him under lock and chain throughout the night, and next morning they drive them to the hardest labor work of building new canal, digging new canals, etc., in Sindh and elsewhere. This has been happening for the last so many years. I have been raising my voice against it, but nobody hears. Because these people have their contacts with police, with law enforcement agencies, and whenever a raid is carried out against them, they are informed before that. And these children are suddenly removed from the camp and it's all an empty camp. But this is happening. This is cruel. Why should be raised by the free world countries, and Pakistan should be strongly pressurized to eradicate all these camps and these practices? That would help the children. But in the name of helping children, as what is happening today, you're only being cruel to the poor families, and particularly to the children of that family. As you have said, they're thrown out in the streets to vie for themselves, to shift from themselves. Whatever they can, they would steal, they would pick pockets, they would do anything to further hurt the society. Thank you.
Your Holiness, another question, if I may, from the City of Vaughan. The Regional Councillor for the City of Vaughan, Michael DiBiase, if he could come to the microphone, and has a question as well having to do with you, Mr. DiBiase.
Good morning, and good morning, everyone. Your Holiness, welcome to our beautiful city of Vaughan.
Thank you.
We are experiencing tremendous growth, and I hope you're pleased, and welcome again. In your opinion, what must we do in the next century to prepare our youth, our children, as parents and as adults?
Thank you, but this question was answered by me yesterday during my address to the ladies, but only partially. The rest I will answer during my address within, say, an hour or so. Will you wait for that? Thank you.
Your Holiness, thank you very much. The question now is from a Member of Parliament. If you could start